Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Hayseed night, where our previous episode was kind of a lot. A lot happened, and let's continue. It became obvious to Adder at some point that Hayseed wasn't just trying to reassure himself anymore.
Why are you helping me?
I am not. I am using you to ensure her safety.
A terrible laugh exploded before it even reached Adder's throat. It sounded miserable.
You really are like two peas in a pod.
Don't you dare take such liberties with me! You only stand before me because my sister needs you more alive than I want you dead! Once that stops being the case, I will come and claim my dues.
Hayseed turned briskly and made into the darkness, far from Adder's reach. Adder tried to pick up the pace as well, but he soon realized that with every step, whatever remained of Sepp glowed a little less brightly.
Mr. Taylor, wait!
There was no need for that. Hayseed suddenly stopped in what seemed like a dead end. Before Adder had a chance to voice any concerns, a fugitive ember flew up from Adder's hands, revealed a small metallic ladder built into the old brick wall, and vanished into a trapdoor.
Go. Take her to Pertok. He will know what to do.
Aren't you coming?
I cannot be seen with either of you. Just go. This conversation never happened.
There was no point in arguing with Hayseed. Even Adder knew this. It was Hayseed, however, who seemed to forget. The moneylender hadn't even walked a few paces when he turned back again towards Adder. He drew his knife and held the blood-stained edge high for Adder to admire the color of his own veins.
Keep her safe, no matter the cost. If anything happens to Septut, I will not grant you twice the kindness of death. The city will be painted in red.
Hayseed disappeared into the tunnels, but his presence remained strong. There was no way but forward. Adder looked down one last time at the heap of dust within his hands and the tinkling bells grazing his palms. The image of the woman he loved dissolved into something unrecognizable. He felt his chest heave as he tried to choke back a sob. He couldn't afford to think yet. He didn't want to risk a single tear falling over the fire. Adder started climbing the ladder with only his right hand at his teeth, being extremely careful not to let a single ash fall from his arm. Daylight seared into Adder's pupil, burning in the image of pale silhouettes of clouds and buildings and people all around. The absent sun had returned, and it was doing him no favors, here in an alley on the edge of Pilgrim Hill. At first he tried to walk quietly, to mind his step, to not tumble in the slightest. But it made no difference. He soon came to realize that the weight in his hands was starting to feel lighter. There truly was less and less of Sepp with every step he took. Adder trudged against the agitated, gossiping masses gathering around 3rd Street, cutting right through the throng of people looking at the sky and panicking over the smoke in the distance. He'd never exerted his body like this, and something in the back of his head screamed at him to stop. But Adder wasn't used to listening to his brain, and he wasn't about to start now. The temple of Hirub at last, but the gate was shut, as it usually would only be at night.
No! No! What? Come on! Open up! It's me! Please!
His mind struggled to recall who it was that would usually open the gates for him, but he banged on the doors desperately all the same, well aware that he couldn't push them down, and that they wouldn't welcome the likes of him anymore.
Stay with me. Stay with me. We're here. It'll be all right.
Adder pulled his handkerchief out from his sash and wrapped it around the cooling ashes. He checked to see that something still glowed within its makeshift container. Desperate now, Adder spit on both of his hands, rubbed them together, and sank his fingers into the crumbling wall, grabbing the knot of the handkerchief with his teeth. And so he started climbing towards the forge, one broken brick after the other, the whole front threatening to fall right under his hands. He would get there, he would make his way to Pertok, and he would save Sepp, no matter what. If he fell, he'd climb again. He'd break his way through the wall if he had to. He'd take down the whole temple brick by brick if there was no other way.
Yes? Who's there?
And then, like so, unaware of Adder's turmoil and the ensuing determination, the huge metal gate opened slowly, innocently. Inside he found a goat. They exchanged silent glances. She gawked at him, clearly flummoxed at the sight of Adder trying to climb the wall. He stared at her, briefly wounded about how quickly he'd been replaced in his sweeping duties. A moment later, and the tip of the broom was raised like a spear against him.
Go down off the wall! Now!
He could hardly blame her, a shaggy, flustered, gigantic deer with a handkerchief in his mouth, burnished hand marks on his chest and singed fur all over his body probably wasn't the friendliest sight. And he wasn't about to help his case.
Where's the patron?
What?
Pertok, the merchant! Red, the merchant! Where is he?
I don't understand.
White beard, red fur, fancy hat, maybe on fire. You can't miss him.
Adder finally craned his neck from the temple far behind the gate to the ibex right in front of him. She looked panicked and just short of poking his one remaining eye out with the broomstick.
I don't know.
Adder mouthed a hardly felt thanks as he rushed in past her and took a right turn into the inner patio. Focused as he was, he barely noticed the goat following him through the cloister.
Wait! Dear, wait, please!
I'm real sorry, man, but I ain't got time to...
No, wait! I said wait! I'm sorry, I give you via during problems. I see, I can listen them. That's why you come at the this is, excuse me, give me a...
The little goat put a hand to her chest, clambering toward a nearby column. Adder couldn't help but stop and approach her out of concern. Once she had regained some breath, she jumped back to her full, limited height.
You need help, I'm wrong? I know what a deer must have problems, or they come into Hirap, but you are welcome. Do apne deer jao, yes? Explain me what happened with this, hurry. I help you how I can.
Adder moved his one eye around the colonnade, biting his tongue so hard that he could have drawn blood. He wanted to look anywhere but at the cluelessly optimistic stranger staring expectantly at him. He had to keep Sep safe. He had to find Pertok. He could keep running until he came up with a way to make it all right. But there was nowhere to run. He was already a dead man walking. He could have very well been carrying a corpse for all he knew. Trusting a helpful young woman with the second biggest secret he carried in his chest hardly seemed a reckless choice at this point.
It ain't me that needs help.
The goat furrowed her eyebrows, confused, but Adder didn't elaborate. He merely opened up the handkerchief just a little, enough for her to take a peek in. A tiny, dying light that offered no warmth awaited inside. The girl remained frozen for a second, looking at the spark. Then she looked at her straight in the eye with her mouth still agape.
No time to explain.
No.
The goat took a deep breath, eyes shut in a resolute expression. Without another word, she dropped the broom and sprinted across the patio. Adder didn't hold a single trace of doubt in his rattled bones that she would be back, but he couldn't just wait for her return either. While his mind hesitated, his hooves led him to the forge. It only made sense. He wasn't a smith. He was barely a broom boy. But if there was one thing apprentices were closely acquainted with, it was fanning fires. This he'd done every single day of this long year. Adder cleaned the fire pit as best he could and made a little nest with what remained of Sep. He tore the handkerchief into pieces. Then he placed Sep's spark on top. The exhausted boy threw his body weight over the bellows time and again, rhythmically, praying to whatever god could hear him that he wouldn't just accidentally blow her soul away. The echo of tiny hooves running up the stairs announced the arrival of the sweeping goat, who carried a small tower of books with her. Once settled on a table, she began sorting through the documents, sending Adder from corner to fetch offerings for the flickering flame.
Get coal, good coal, and not burn before. Dear Masoma, bless rocks, clean with fire salt.
Oh, purification salts! The power ones! I know Pertok kept some around.
Adder gathered the salt, the coals, and all that remained of Sep's form in the center of the pit. He grabbed a pipe and blew into it directly, too scared to even try the bellows anymore. Then they waited. They steeled their hearts and stared. There was no forge and no temple anymore. Only the coal existed. Nothing happened for the longest time. But when they were just about ready to give up, whoosh! A dark blue fire consumed all the items around as it burned tall and proud, finally returning back to the tranquil flame that trembled slightly before the two shocked bloodlings. The deer and the goat looked at each other. They screamed incomprehensibly in their respective languages. They smashed their hides together in an extremely uncoordinated impromptu hug, which ended with Adder picking the goat up and spinning her once in the air before letting her go in a panic. Even so, there was no end to their cheer. They jumped on and on excitedly all over the forge, celebrating something they couldn't quite even start to understand. Adder finally fell to the sooty ground before the fire pit, watching the flames burn in a blur somewhere beyond his snout. The goat hurriedly kneeled down next to him.
Are you okay?
No, I'm Adder.
I'm sorry, Ada. I'm Zhao. Are you okay?
It was just a... Never mind. I'll survive. And if I'm not the only one anymore, it'll be all thanks to you, ma'am. You just saved us. Never knew we got a hero working for hero.
You know, no, I am nothing of the sort. I'm just the new priestess. As I said, right, Sinar, welcoming everyone to the temple is literally what I was born to do.
No. You're really going above and beyond, Miss Priestess. I ain't never had a divine nothing chase after me to save my ass anywhere else.
Yes. I guess I'm playing to my strengths, whichever they may be. But I appreciate and accept the compliment, truly, misguided as it is.
Adder knitted his brow together tightly, a realization threading itself wit by wit in his exhausted brain.
Hey, when did Sirnar get so good?
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. I wouldn't consider myself fluent by any stretch, but I have a good ear for it. I mean, I have a lot of practice hearing the merchants and the caravans speak every day, and...
No, right now, I mean. It's so much better than it was before. When did it get so... Hold up. It's working! It's working, ain't it? I'm doing the eye magic thing!
A magic thing? Oh, you're a gaze reader?
Darn right I am! Sam,
The flame burned gingerly in its little bed, stamping Adder's enthusiasm to the ground. Zhao slowly swiveled her head between Adder and the fire pit, lacking words in any language to even attempt to start talking about what happened. Still, she smiled.
Would you be so kind as to introduce us?
She's... Well, other than probably calling me an idiot, she's... Yusif.
The goat fell completely silent. It was an anguished silence, the kind in which one has a lot to absorb.
I think we owe you a real big explanation, Miss Zhao.
Adder painted, in broad, flattering strokes, quite the picture. One of a boy escaping from his past, hiding as far from it as he could, running towards an impossible future, resigning himself to a life of bare minimums, for he deserved nothing better. Of a boy losing all sense of direction. He told her the story of a woman who had the misfortune of being loved by him, of making him feel special, how much better she would have been without him, of how he hurt her and how she always despaired for wanting to hurt him back. He told her what just happened moments ago, not that far away, how convinced he was that he ought to be dead, how the sun had come and gone without her. Then silence came back, longer this time. When Zhao spoke again, it was with reverential fear. One born from the horror of committing the highest blasphemy.
I came to Erlum because I had a dream a long time ago, Adder. A dream that left me awestruck. I dreamed of a crown of light, and I chose to don it upon me, thinking myself proud and wise for it. I knew I was wrong, but I couldn't keep the thought locked within my chest. When I told the seeress about this dream, she had me banished from the temple, sentencing that it wasn't a dream fit for a priestess with any sense of decency left. I would go on a pilgrimage to face true hardship and shed off my hubris, or I would burn my robes and walk in the shade for the rest of my life. And yet, There truly is no darkness on Dagna.
Jo looked at the fire pit. A small smile crossed her face. Her expression turned somber once more as she turned towards Adder.
I'd spent so long as a caravan guard that I thought I'd never see my journey complete. But when I finally arrive at the temple, when I finally find a glimpse of my old peace, the sun leaves the skies, and you arrive with it.
I'm so sorry for...
Don't you apologize! This is great! I'm sorry, that came out wrong. I mean, I'm just so happy that the Jasif would require my help. I really should have known from the moment I saw your honors, but I couldn't believe my own eyes.
Though she clearly tried, Jo was thoroughly unable to hide the mix of excitement, hope, and envy on her face as she looked at Adder. This only added to his confusion.
My what?
Your honors.
She hovered a finger over her own shoulders and chest, roughly mirroring where Adder's marks stood on his body.
Oh, yeah. She honored me with these, all right.
Yes, we're so fortunate that the Jasif decided to bless you. You wouldn't have been able to carry her soul to safety otherwise.
To be fair, Your Holiness, I reckon I wouldn't have been able to carry her soul all the way up here any other way.
Certainly, it would have been horrifying. Her power would have carbonized you.
Adder chuckled awkwardly to himself, suddenly very conscious of how thankful he was that his mean, neurotic quips were wasted on the pious ibex beside him. He chose to take the tiny flame flickering upwards inside of the forge as a sign that someone had understood his words. A sigh welled up deep within Adder's chest. It would stay there for a long time.
What's going to happen to her now?
I can't answer that. There is no answer that remains eternally unfound, but we should be wary of the plenty that remain unfounded. Only a fool speaks freely of that which one doesn't know.
Well, I'll say, that sounded just right up Sep's alley. You some kind of Sephy magic thing, too?
Far from it. The seer has always said that Hirub was wise to steer my senses away from the Hatsa, as knowing me, I could trip on the current itself.
Adder's face drooped a little more with each word Zhao said.
One thing I can say for certain is that I have started several fires in my life. Candle fires, lamp fires, bonfires, ceremonial fires, kitchen fires, wildfire. What I mean to say is that it looks like a healthy, holy fire to me.
Yeah, we did the best we could, didn't we? We'll figure something out.
Figure out how to speak out of your mouth instead of your ass, you traitorous venison.
Patron!
Shut up! Don't you dare utter that word in my presence again, or I'll crack your skull open and have that mustard seed you wear as a brain for breakfast!
Bertok stopped yelling for a moment. He flicked one floppy ear halfway up.
Is that my Aina with you?
I'm afraid not, Seer. It's just me, Zhao, the new...
Then you shut up too!
Adder and Zhao exchanged a brief look, an understanding that they now shared a small, unexplainable bond through their shared laboral miseries. But this was not the moment to discuss the benefits of unionizing. Adder's brain was working overtime today.
Aina. Yeah, Aina! I saw her earlier, sir. She was with her... sister?
Ah, that girl. The storm remains unpredictable, no matter its form.
The merchant removed a few straws from Sep's nest, making the flame lash at him.
Always one to bite the hand that feeds you, daughter of Thor.
Adder and Zhao shared concerned looks behind his back.
How did you know she...
I already told you, you nimwit! The stench of a Jasip is not one to ever escape my nostrils. It should be ambition, conquest, and pride. But I smell nothing but despair now. Her soul must be starved. Who did this to her?
I think she probably did this to herself. Not on purpose, I don't think. See, Miss Rochelle took her away to her room, and the tailor tried to kill me, but then I looked up, and he looked too, and the desert rose caught fire, and the sun went out, and...
Ugh, I knew this would happen.
What do you mean you knew?
I mean that I knew! It was obvious. That brat's always been too weak-hearted to be Jasif. I don't care what that compost brain tree says. She should have grown to become a barmaid in whatever roadside inn that delusional doe stole her from. Let history forget about her. She's not fit for royalty.
Something snapped a little in Adder's face. A thought must have gone sideways as he grabbed the old man's stinky frame by the collar of his tunic and lifted him off the ground.
If you were so sure that it was all gonna go sideways, you ought to have done something about it when you got the chance! You should have protected her, you old bastard! Not just shrug and say, I told you so!
I did what I could for that child.
You ain't done crap! You're really gonna tell me to my face that you call sending her back without her memories or whatever it was you did, protecting her?
The gods must be crueler than I thought to make you the fool I scried then. What a dangerous thirst for knowledge you hide under that stupid facade of yours, son of Garthav.
I'm hearing lots of words, and none of them is sorry. Do something about this!
Adder, put him down already. That's no way to treat an elder.
Adder glanced at Zhao, then back at Pertok. A long, deep breath later, the old man had his hooves back on the ground.
Turn those wax-ridden ears of yours to me, child. I have but one piece of advice. I'm not the only one who can sense a weakness like this. My daughter, she's even better than me. And I know she still hungers for revenge. Don't let her remember. Keep the sun away from her.
With that, Pertok turned around and began limping downstairs.
Hold up, that's it? Where are you going?
To my room, to resume my nap where I left it. I'm far too old to be any god's milkmaid.
What are we supposed to do then?
Get your ass out of my temple, that's what! Don't you dare ever show your face around here again, son of Garfad! You and that loose piece of charcoal are not welcome anymore!
Say what? Where are we supposed to go?
I don't care! You chose to stick your antlers where you shouldn't have. Now live with the consequences.
Adder remained locked in place, simmering in his rage. That pot had been boiling for far too long.
I'm gonna show you consequences?
Before Adder could put a full stop on that sentence, the world turned dark.
What happened, Mr. Bard?
Adder opened his eyes slowly. He could tell dusk was creeping up on the city somewhere to his right. Only the glow of the fire burning in the forge managed to light up his memories.
Adder, you shouldn't be up. Go back to sleep.
The boy found himself helplessly pushed back into a pile of something that rumbled and shifted beneath his back. It smelled like charcoal, with a sheet on it to put visitors in the mind of a cozy bed.
I can't. Ugh. Where are we? Is this the forge?
I thought you wouldn't want to be separated from her.
Didn't Mr. Pertok say?
I know what the seer said, but That's not the way of the gods. I'm not letting him drive you out in your state. Not even if you're the filthy, backstabbing daughter Sully I've heard so much about.
The what?
Anyway, please lie down. You're in no condition to walk.
Sure I am. Look at me. If I fall down, I could just cartwheel away.
Ada, this is serious.
One look at Zhao's face, and Adder immediately lay down.
I've known warriors to stand and fight long after their consciousness failed them, driven only by instinct. But it was always a matter of time until their body gave up. Some of them never got up again. A failing mind is no joke. I wish I had noticed sooner. I can only imagine how hard you must have fought to protect the Jasif and reach us bearing wounds like those.
Come now, they ain't so.
Adder held on to the water basin next to him. He immediately screeched in pain at the motion. His face was a myriad of cuts and bruises. The long gash in his neck still bled. His left hand was broken beyond use. The deepest, most critical wound in his chest had been stitched and tightly bandaged, but blood was still peeking through the fabric. All the injuries he thought magically healed made all the worse by exertion.
Damn it, Sip. Oh, why's it always gotta be smoke and mirrors with you?
There is no magical cure for injury, Ada. Time takes time.
Nah, time lives inside your mind. Didn't you know?
Adder sat up all of a sudden, finally taking note of the situation at hand. He immediately regretted doing any of that.
How long have I been out?
Less than half a day. Not nearly enough to recover from whatever it was that stomped over you, so please just go back to sleep.
No, sleep? What are you saying? I can't be wasting time like this. There's Ana. It's Sep now. Y'all's gonna be somewhere out there too, and 3, I beg you. I ain't got time. I ain't got it in me to do this alone.
Adder tottered across the forge, unable to command his legs to stop trembling. His fall came as no surprise to either of them, but it still managed to put a dent in his heart. The boy only looked up from the depths of his despair when he felt a tiny hand on his shoulder. A reassuring smile half covered by messily kept bangs followed after.
I know it must feel hopeless right now, but you're not alone, Ada. And I'm not just talking about the physical realm. The sun is always ahead of us, lighting the way to tomorrow, even when we can't see it. And now it's literally shining right in front of us. It will be okay, okay?
Adder turned his face towards the tranquil flame in the forge. Though Adder was used to seeing the Jasif as far more solid existence than Zhao, and therefore couldn't share her optimism, the fire didn't give a single damn about his feelings. It was just there, a lazy flame resting in its cozy abode, despite everything that was going on around it. Just about the most Sep thing it could do. Uncaring, unbothered. A cruel god.
Besides, this is the royal temple of Hirub. Not just a place of worship, but a monument to Barha knowledge. We have the wisdom of hundreds of sages before us, preserved to piece together the answers to every question we could formulate.
How's a bunch of old dead people gonna help us stop one from...
Something twitched above him. Then came a growl like that of a heavy rock being dragged. Yellow gleams stared at them from the shadows above the forge. Zhao made to turn around, following his line of sight, but Adder immediately put a hand on her shoulder and snapped her whole body back towards him.
No, you know what? You're 3,000% right. This place is filled to the brim with books and stuff, but you know what's sad? None of that matter to me, because I can't even read my own name. All Anderson's son of Gerfat can offer is his bronze, because he's just smart enough to know better than to offer his brains. And I won't be able to give even that much if I don't rest a little more. Can I ask you for a teeny tiny little favor, though? Could you help me find my shepherd's crook? My walking stick, that is. I used to carry it all the time before I came down to the city. It sure would be a big help right now, but I ain't got no clue where in the temple I could have left it.
Of course! You don't even need to ask. And please, take as long as you want. I'm sure the seal will eventually come to his senses and allow you to stay. We just have to hold on a little longer.
Adder felt a rare twinge of guilt for the lie he just told. He actually knew, with astounding precision, where his old shepherd's staff was, right there in a corner under the table where he always used to have his lunch. But now was hardly the time to fetch it. Adder pretended to lie down again in his pile of charcoal, keeping his eye closed well after Jaw's steps were out of earshot. When he opened it again, a wolf was straddling his chest.
Hey, boss, you here to watch me work? I was just about to get on with my day after the beating I took earlier. Thanks for dropping by, at least.
Haven't I been nice to you, Bones?
Huh?
I rescued you. I brought you food. I gave you a name. Haven't I been nice?
Yeah.
Then why did you lie to me? That's a very naughty thing to do.
I was scared?
And that's the part I don't understand. Isn't this what you signed up for? Did you change your mind? Would you rather run and let the deer make a bloody mess out of you than stay by your nice friend's side?
Eka finally climbed off Adder's makeshift bed. She started roaming around the forge.
By all means, tell your new friend all about us. I'd love to have an excuse to try some gazelle.
She's a goat, and leave her alone. I wasn't gonna say a word about y'all.
Wow, that's what I call a scary face right there. I didn't know a deer could snarl. Did Aina teach you that?
Yeah. Is she with you?
I hope so. She hasn't misbehaved once since she came back. I suppose it was just a bout of sentimentalism. I heard she was prone to those. Could have been a pretty perfect night, if two mischievous landlubbers hadn't run and ruined our party.
Eka slid back towards Adder as he made the effort to sit up from his bed to meet her. She bent her body until her eyes were in line with his and smiled.
Do you want to know how I found you?
Do you want to tell me?
The wolf pointed her long snout against the gash on Adder's neck and smirked.
You cannot hide from me.
Still smiling, she dragged a soft clawed thumb across the bandage. The thin canvas tore easily under her nail, revealing a trail of fresh blood. Eka traced the outline of the cut with her finger, making Adder gasp in pain.
A lesser wolf would have eaten you right away. How fortunate you are that I am Eka.
As if to finish making her point, Eka took the bloody fingertip to her mouth and licked it clean, holding Adder's gaze all the while. He didn't dare break eye contact, not even once. Something deep down told him he couldn't afford to flinch if he wanted to live.
You know, I learned something very interesting thanks to your escape. It seems the concept of family is quite different here to where I come from. Fawns are pups, and siblings and littermates are similar enough. But mothers, let alone fathers? It's hard to have those when it takes a village to raise a litter. So when I followed you here and saw the red angry grazer upstairs, I thought that maybe I could have 2 or 3 fathers. It sounded right to my ears. But then I thought about it again and I figured, nah, they were just messing with you.
Eka put a hand on the wall and craned her body forward, forcing Adder back down.
Where's my dad, puppy? I can't seem to find him.
Adder turned his face towards the forge. He half expected to find Sepp shrugging back at him.
Dead?
Eka's ears perked up. She threw her head back, clearly doubting this claim. Then she raised her snout in the air and sniffed around. She tilted her head to one side and the other, as if failing to make sense of something that was very evident.
Oh, that sucks. Or maybe it doesn't. Your friend kind of sounded like a splinter in your gums, if you catch my drift. A big splinter. No, an enormous, juicy, fatty marrow bone. The whole loin, really.
As he watched the thin trail of drool fall off Eka's lower jaw, Adder tried very hard not to think about what would have become of Sepp if they had stayed at the ship. That was the very instant he decided he wouldn't be caught without his staff ever again.
Well, whatever. I guess that saves us some time then.
Hey, so I know this really ain't the kind of question one ought to ask in this situation, but, just to make sure I'm getting this right, boss, aren't you, mad about this whole thing?
What's the word? It's an ambiguous situation. Like, who's even at fault here? You for lying? Or me for thinking the first gazelle I saw would be my father? All I knew about the two of you is that you were a yellow deer and a very angry red gazelle. And that wasn't a whole lot to go by. It could have been anyone. It's hard to tell grazers apart just by shape and size. You all smell delicious. If only every deer was like you, Bones.
Then I wouldn't be easy to tell apart anymore, right?
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that. You're a thinker, puppy. A really smart one. That's how I know you won't try to trick me a second time. Remember, I'm your boss now.
Haven't forgotten once, ma'am.
Ma'am. Ma'am. It doesn't get old.
Eka pushed her hat down as she walked towards the colonnade that looked over the yard in 3rd Street.
To be perfectly clear, Bones, if you weren't so important as you are, I would have plucked out every last bristle of hair on your body and eaten you from the inside out by now.
Adder followed Eka's line of sight. Some 50 Barhans had gathered in the patio of the temple, forming small unconnected groups, like those that would gather before shows.
Lucky, lucky Bones. Always the star of a crowd. The next time you find yourself in the middle of 1,000 stairs, keep in mind that every breath you take because you're more useful to me alive than dead. I saved you. I kept you safe. And just like that, I will tear you apart, limb by limb, and feast upon your entrails while you look, if you give me one more reason to.
Eka dragged her hands lazily up the sides of Adder's neck until they rested comfortably on the base of his jaw. She grinned.
I'll find us some cake the next time I visit. Don't think I've forgotten. Be a good pup now. Don't get your head bitten off.
She put an end to her remark with a little clack of her teeth. At last the captain slinked away. A sudden thump near the doorway made Adder jump in place. He slowly turned around, just to find a frozen goat and a lot of random canes scattered across the ground behind him.
Miss Priestess, gee, you're fast, ain't you? Sorry to make you run around like that. Turns out my stick was just...
Who was the tall lady?
Adder needed a second to even attempt to decipher what it was he was looking at. Zhao's eyes were practically sparkling.
That was a She's my boss's boss. Dropping by for a quick inspection. Never mind her, though. What's that all about?
Adder extended a giant finger towards the small crowd gathering in the plaza at the other side of the gates.
The congregation? They've been here for a while. We're in the Temple of Hirub. Isn't that normal?
Ma'am, I've been playing errand boy for well over a year now. Whatever that is, normal it ain't. I ain't ever seen a gazelle pray here. How come there's 3 dozens of them now?
Oh, that must mean my efforts to spread the good news about the return of the Jasif while you rested must have borne some fruit.
You promised them fruit!
I honestly wasn't sure anyone was going to pay any mind to me, given my linguistic skills. But I suppose a few Barhans must have seen the sun disappear over the city and taken that as a sign.
The desert rose, Adder thought to himself, feeling drops of sweat fall through his back like hail. They saw the desert rose going up in flames and took that as a sign.
I can't believe I'm having any part in this. The children of Hirub coming together to wait for the Jasif to be returned to us. This is marvelous. We should ask the seer to officiate a ceremony.
Say what? You want us on a pyre or what? Leave the patron alone. That man got a drop of holiness in his body. He'll only curse us out.
That's a risk I'm willing to take. We can't not pray now if Heirloom's faith is truly so feeble. It's our moment to be audacious, inspire them, and show them the way of the...
Hour? Oh, no, ma'am. Working at the temple don't make me a priest. You go and pray all you want. I'm out of here.
Me? But I couldn't possibly... I mean, yes, I am nominally a priestess, but I'm the kind that sweeps the temple and lays the table, not the kind that lectures. I can barely string 2 words together in Basaktet, never mind Senar.
Jal, come on. You don't gotta give the speech of your life. Just talk them up a little so they can go home in peace. I'll be back there keeping an eye on y'all as queen till you're done, okay?
Ada, do you believe in fate?
Not when you ask me like that.
I know we just met, and I know that you're barely in any state to stand vertically, but I'm sure there's a reason destiny brought us together.
The main one being Elagrab's terrified of fire, and you were walking by when I got sacked, I bet.
Not that. I'm talking about something deeper than chance. Providence, the work of the divine. The gods give where they take, Ada. You have been blessed with a loud and beautiful voice to make up for your looks, and the talent to read gazes, to know the hearts of those around you, to make up for everything else.
What are you trying to rope me into here?
I'm positive that you could make a great orator if you tried. Would you kindly translate the prayers for me?
No way! Nope. Nuh-uh, ma'am. Don't take me wrong. If you'd asked me a week ago, I'd have gladly got that done for you, Miss Priestess. I lend my voice box to my friends on the daily. But I can't show my face in front of the whole city right now. We'll be in trouble.
Oh, I know this struggle well, but please don't be so hard on yourself. You're not so exceedingly horrifying to look at, even with the wounds. You're pretty leggy, that helps.
This ain't about my mug. I'm saying I'm a dead man if any of them recognize me.
Adder reached into his sash and pulled out the wanted poster Miss Rochelle had thrown at him on the way to the Desert Rose.
Irbamad, that is quite the list of crimes. What does this, fornication part mean?
I think it's stabbing someone with a fork. And that much I can promise you I ain't never done.
Zhao's hand shook a little as she gripped the paper. She bent it into a ball and screamed to the measure she could over it.
It doesn't matter. I said I do not care about your dubious past, and I stand by it. I serve the sun, and so do you, and that makes us friends now. And friends are supposed to help their friends, help them give speeches in front of the whole village.
Meaning...
We need a makeover.
A what?
As much as she tried to hide it, the elation and pride at the prospect of getting up to what I'm sure could only be referred to as shenanigans were plain to see on Zhao's face. Adder was not keen on leaving Sepp unattended, but he followed Zhao all the same to the uncharacteristically well-maintained inner sanctum.
I stumbled upon this room while I was looking for the broom closet. It's full of all sorts of regalia from ages past, and I'm willing to say it looks rather authentic. Since the seer very explicitly forbade you from showing your face around the temple.
The holy little swindler put a hand on a helmet and smiled.
No, that's smart. I got that part. I'm just wondering why you got a pile of clothes on your hands, too.
Ada, the future of this city depends on me finding a suitable dress. The cowl very much makes the monk.
Adder raised a skeptical thumb to his chin.
And Ilgrab never mentioned the tall lady. She's our boss now. You can't leave me behind. I can't be caught wearing the same 3 dusty rags the next time we see her.
That's real holy of you, priestess.
One can't honor the gods if they do not honor themselves, Ada. Do you understand? Love is a righteous path. Love is the work of the divine.
Zhao pulled Adder's face towards her, squishing his cheeks into pancakes.
And I'm a devout believer, see?
I still don't get it, but you know what? You do you. I can't really judge nobody for putting their job on the line for a pretty face. Just pray there won't be a next time with her.
And so began...
How about this one?
We need to find the right helmet for your face shape. How do you feel about chest plates?
the crucial moment in history.
You don't think pink is too last season?
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with heirloomite fashion, which may suit our purposes just fine.
In which a fawn and a kid.
Would you like to try holding my spear instead?
Appreciate it, but I like my eye where it is. You know what we could use, though? A comb.
Find themselves in the mirror.
Gods above. Is that really me? I'm feeling so dashing.
And completely forget what they came to do.
You look like a different person.
I never knew you were a miracle worker, priestess.
You make miracles easy.
Oh, shut. Wait, what?
This has been so much fun! We should do it again sometime.
Yeah, we really oughta. What were we doing now?
Zhao and Adder finally finished parading up and down the shed and staggered out towards the yard.
Look! There's someone coming out! Where's the Yasif? We want to see him!
Is that a goat? With a yellow deer?
Good people of Heirloom, we thank you kindly for your patience. I'm only here to deliver the word of
Joe.
the famous Zhao, one of the very last true priestesses of Heirloom himself. She who has braved the long journey through the steppes on a pilgrimage from the distant frozen lands of very far up north, where the ibexes live, I think. Now, I'm gonna shut up and let her do the talking now.
Zhao cleared her throat. It would still be a few moments until words dared to come out. She started speaking in Besakted, soft and barely audible to the first row of guests. Adder looked at her, nodded to himself, and started relaying the message to the best of his abilities.
There's an old Basaksaran poem that has survived for generations in my hometown. Where the rivers of fate start, each soul its due receives. When the rivers thirst until mud runs dry, the sun still burns for our Jasif. Could anybody tell me how the first Jasif came to be?
Mutters, harumphs, and coughs. A few people raised their hands awkwardly.
The Barhans pray to the sun for protection and stuff?
Zhao smiled and nodded.
You may find this poem tells it a bit differently, though. When Hirub created Barhankind, he asked the master of the suns, Jase, to guard his new creations while he took a nap. Our sun was so zealous about her job that she wouldn't let a cloud hover over Basekserat. During Hirub's rest, the kingdom became a desert. There was no food, no water. It was a calamity, some may say. And yet, the Barhans learned to survive and prosper, for all their enemies fell victim to the heat and lost themselves under the blinding light. We built a civilization of science thanks to the sun's watchful eye. It was after this that the Barhans started worshipping Jase, and she became so revered that when Hirub returned, our ancestors asked him to bring the sun to Dakna so that they could thank her properly. Hirub agreed to remove Jase from her heavenly duties for just one day, lending her the shape of her beloved, a chance to walk among her worshippers before she would have to return to the sky. In her day on Dakna, the sun shared food and drink with the Barhans, and she decided to honor them and make them kin. Blessed as she did, for her children were born onto the world, and she never forgot them. For each Joseph who rose, our sun would leave the skies once more to bless her children anew.
Zhao gripped the shaft of her spear and lifted it high in the air, so that the golden tip may shine under the last few glimmers in the horizon.
Today, we witnessed a new day without sun. Today, we welcome a new Jasif. We raise our heads and look at the sky with hearts full of pride and at each other, not as north and south, ibex and gazelle, but as Barhans. This is the start of a new era, of new blessings and tribulations we shall face. Pray to Hirab that the Jasif may grow strong. Pray so that all of us Barhans may call ourselves siblings again.
The audience exploded in cheers and exclamations for both the Joseph and the priestess.
All right, give it up for Jiao! Woo! If you enjoyed this prayer, please don't forget to tell your friends and leave a donation at the offertory. Have a good night, everyone. Don't get caught roaming outside after curfew.
The spectators muttered among themselves. They were not yet satisfied.
May we see the Jasif?
Adder and Zhao exchanged a desperate look.
No, she's for real tired right now after all the heavenly stuff she got to do today. Yep.
Your prayers shall keep us strong. Please, keep praying in whatever measure you can.
Donations! Don't forget the donations. Pour one out for the Queen of Queens.
The crowds dispersed at last, in the manner of those whose minds are filled with much to discuss after a lecture. As soon as they reached the forge, both Zhao and Adder collapsed to the ground like stringless puppets.
I think we did well.
Adder fixed his eye on the darkness, waiting above the forge. He turned on his back and propped himself up on his elbows so as to sit on the ground.
Just well won't do.
Why are you talking like the Sierra Snow?
Much to her chagrin, Zhao agreed deep down. She got up, dusted herself, and wandered out of the forge to choose a few new books to skim over. Adder, for his part, started gathering every single plank, metal sheet, and loose piece of furniture he could find around the temple. Zhao only raised her head from the page when the hammering started.
Are you barricading the crematorium.
I don't know what that means, but, we gotta protect the Yasif and stuff from any possible peeping eyes. Yep, that's all. Ain't nothing else could want to hurt us out there. Nope.
I know that it's hypocritical of me to insist on this after everything, but you're in no condition to do physically demanding work, Adder. Why don't we leave that for another day?
I told you, I'm useless. I got no clues what to do or where to start. So I'm trying to focus on the few things I know I can do. Building up walls? And believe it or not, I could do that with my eye closed. But it's the same with you and praying. You're a natural, Miss Zhao.
The sun shines brighter on a liar than a coward.
I don't know what that means, but I'm sure I agree. You agree, Sep?
The flame burned languidly on the forge.
You must be bored out of your mind. Don't worry, love. We'll get you out of there in no time. Zhao's read like 1,000 books already.
I do not have such skills. Please don't get her hopes up. What I have found so far is references to the shifting of shapes that some Jasif displayed at will. It's only been mentioned anecdotally in the accounts I've read so far, so I suppose it wasn't considered a cause for distress or even a show of skill for them. I don't intend any disrespect bringing this possibility up. It's merely my working theory. It could be that our son is temporarily stuck in one of her forms, or even between them. Perhaps something is getting in the way of her powers.
Yeah, thought as much. It's my fault. I could have told you that.
Zhao observed in silence as Adder finished nailing impromptu boards to every last column. Then he grabbed his helmet and popped up his collar so high you may have thought he was trying to disguise a wholly different kind of mark.
Like what kind?
Well, it's like...
No, I'm just messing with you. I pop my zits sometimes too.
Heading out now. Gotta do some personal stuff. Look over Sep for me, yeah?
Will you be out long? I don't mean to rush you, but I'm still trying to fix my sleep schedule after the journey, and, I'm starting to run low on funds for food.
Zhao produced a coin purse and opened it, completely unprompted for Adder to peruse. Her idea of low funds involved 3 times more money than the average successful slum-dwelling thug could manage to mug in a week. Adder scratched the back of his head, accidentally knocking the helmet out of place. What was he even supposed to say in a situation like this? There was a chance he wouldn't be able to return at all.
If I'm not back by dinner time, there's a pantry with a bunch of potatoes near the back, under the tower. The key's inside the red and white plant pot to the left. Anyone asks, you say you found out on your own. Okay, bye!
The moon was absent from the sky that night. Not even a hint of the orange orb that drew the colors away from the dusk skies every night, leaving only the emptiness among the stars watching over Dakna. Who could be a better companion for the deer walking towards the market tonight than darkness itself? It kindly obscured the view of his hands and his limp as he clung onto his crook, walking with his back straight like an ironing board. It wasn't his first night outside after curfew, and it wouldn't be the last. He knew the right alleys to wander into and the proper way to shuffle past the guards patrolling the streets, but he wouldn't use them today. No, the stag didn't hesitate when he walked into the keep. He knew he was supposed to be there. He deserved to be. It was everyone else that needed convincing.
Good evening, kind of fellows.
No response from the guards lazily looking in his direction. Still, He must have done a decent job at walking like anyone but himself, for he wasn't stopped a single time on his way to Illegrab's office. And what for? He thought. I'm about to put everyone's necks on the line. Adder took a deep breath and pushed the tall doors in.
Illegrab, are you in there?
Regrettably, as it used to be the case, the tree man was nowhere to be found.
Darn it, turn it all to oblivion. He said he'd be here all day. Stupid metaphorsis.
Before Adder had a chance to curse any other literary resources, the metal gates creaked open once again.
Illegrab, are you in there?
A muscular man with a bandaged head and a comparatively meek gazelle by his side strolled in, paying absolutely no heed to the yellow deer whose blood they had curdled into pudding.
Gods, how could a tree be this hard to find? He is a tree, damn it! Why does he even need an office if he never uses it? We should have him move to the garden. Wouldn't you be happier in the garden if you were a tree?
I don't believe I'm qualified to answer such a troubling question, sir.
Well, someone has to be! You, the deer over there, who are you? Are you the gardener? I don't recall authorizing Illegrab to hire any gardeners.
No, I am someone, of course. By ye gods, I am. But thou must not have heard of me. I am the one who is known as Adderson of the Upper Field?
Adder turned around very briefly to scream into his hands.
How dare you think me so foolish? Of course I have heard of you. Sir Upperfield! Forgive me for being so uncouth. I wasn't aware that we would have a distinguished guest among us tonight. Babbitt! Why wasn't I informed of this visit?
I would have had to be made aware of it first, sir.
No, it ain't like... My good sir, please spare your friend any unpleasantries. It's not his fault. I visited without announcing to speak to an old friend.
You were waiting for Illegrab? Ha! You would fare better trying to find the fabled thornless syllabum in the ridges of Beermacassin. If you've had the misfortune of making an appointment with that tree, you may as well consider your time lost. Where did I leave my manners? Here you are wasting your precious time, and yet I laugh. My judgment must yet remain impaired after the dangerous battle I fought today. To think my demise could have arrived so suddenly, so dishonorably.
Adder puckered his cheek. He had thoughts he couldn't afford to think.
But enough about me. I noticed a certain foreign cadence as you spoke, Sir Upperfield. Whence may your accent be?
Well, it may be right here at this moment, but its origins lie in your green and distant lands of Chantere.
Is that true? Then you may have met... No, it couldn't be. You're far too young.
It couldn't be. But it is, my friend. I know who you ask about, and I did know the late Lord Thumar well. I watched him fight many a battle against the moving forests. Your father gave me more than I'll ever be able to return.
Adder put a hand on Elbar's shoulder in a reassuring way. He only realized his mistake when the knight turned his face towards it. Fortunately for him, Sir Askedas was entirely too moved to notice the extraordinary size of the hand patting him.
This is truly a fateful meeting! Oh, what a caring soul I found when I thought myself most alone! Forget the old shrub you came to see. Please, join me in my palace so that we may feign toast to our newfound friendship!
No! I mean, I couldn't possibly, sir. I got very hurried matters to discuss with Mr. Buntalos, and I've heard of the troubles you got yourself into with a fellow countryman of mine.
Right you are, my friend. I cannot afford myself any time to rest. Not until I find him. I know that wretched one-eyed scoundrel must have been involved in the fire today. A single look at his face is enough to... What sort of drivel am I spouting? Please, forgive my lack of decor. It's only his one-eyedness that is wretched. Yours extols your virtues and makes you seem all the mightier a warrior, Sir Upperfield.
All is forgiven except age, Sir Askadath.
Such wisdom you hold in spite of your youth. But please, let me make amends with you all the same. I shall listen to your request in lieu of Illigrab, so that you may continue your business anon.
I'm afraid these words are for Mr. Buntalos' ear holes only.
Ah, yes. Secrets are the currency of us better born, are they not? I hope there shall come the day you may open your heart to me as well.
Aww.
I must insist, however, that it would not be wise for you to loll about waiting for the tree man. Go in peace, my friend. I shall let him know you wish to hear back from him.
Mighty grateful, Sir Askadath. I will go and take my leave then.
Yes, yes. It's high time we all return to our duties. Bammit, write Sir Upperfield's contact information and bring me my polish when you're done!
Adder and Bamet were left alone in Illigrab's ample office.
In case there was any doubt, you have not fooled me for a second, Sir Upperfield. I would like to believe Sir Askadath may have seen through your deceit as well, were he not quite so intoxicated from the pain soothers resulting from your little run-in. Rest assured that I have no interest in dealing with the aftermath of this situation, so I would rather appreciate it if you could make yourself scarce and remain hard to find, for my sake and yours.
Yeah, I guess I live in the Temple of Herub now.
Duly noted. I shall look for Sir Upperfield everywhere but there.
Hey, before I get, you wouldn't happen to see a red deer somewhere around here? About this big, horns bigger than my hands, always wears a hat.
If you are asking if I have seen such a deer in the dungeons, I most definitely haven't. If we were to speak about an honored guest residing in Sir Askadath's quarters, on the other hand...
Ooh. Adder mouthed a silent "oh."
Well, that's one worry off my mind then. Thanks for everything, Mr. Bammit. See you never.
Have a good life.
That was nice. I think we'll continue from here in the next episode. I was kind of hoping to, well, I mean, we did, I suppose, find some help for Sepp. I mean, at least she is now in a condition where she can wait to be put back into a physical body. But I was hoping for some more results before I end the episode. But it has already been over an hour, and it kind of seems like it's going to be a while yet before Sepp is in like a physical body again. So we'll end this episode here and see what happens next in the next one. Thank you so much for watching and spending a little of your time with me here today. It was lovely to have you. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you again next time.